one thing I wanted to bring up, and I hope you appreciate in the spirit I bring it up, is that leaked audio from the making of Dead Reckoning Part 1. Mm-hmm. That, like, you never want somebody recording something illicitly. But I will say this, a lot of folks, we already have respect for Tom.
Yeah.
The kind of things he was saying there is who he is. Maybe not that, that was an unusual tone for him. We were not used to hearing that.
Yeah.
But he and you, safe to say, felt the weight of not just that film, but the industry. The industry puts movies like Top Gun, like Mission Impossible on their shoulders.
Yes.
Do you feel that? You talk about that with Tom?
We consciously decided that. We agreed to that. Tom is asked all the time, why don't you do more movies like? Why don't you, And Tom answered quite frankly at one point during all that, he's like, look, the industry needs movies like this right now. We made these movies are very hard to make. They're enormously physically, emotionally, and mentally taxing. Factor in a pandemic and 2 industry strikes, what should have been a 2.5-year process for both movies stretched on to 7 years. I didn't see my family for half of that time. Yeah. That put an enormous strain on all of us. You don't see me driving around in a gold-plated Lamborghini. When you make a movie, you don't get paid overtime.
Right.
When the movie goes as long as this one did, we made an agreement very early on that Top Gun Maverick and these 2 Mission Impossible movies were going to be movies that did everything they could to preserve a kind of filmmaking, a kind of storytelling, and a film-going experience. During a time when I really feel the industry is, I don't want to say imploding, but certainly receding. And I feel there's a venue now with streaming wherein you can abdicate certain burdens. Yeah. And I choose my words very carefully. It's not avoid, it is to abdicate those burdens. Yes, making a movie that has to compete on its opening weekend sucks. That's also an important part of why a movie has the quality that it does and lasts as long as it does. You got to fight for those eyeballs. You don't have to do that in streaming.
Right.
You don't have to do that. The metric by which they measure success on that is completely different and has nothing to do with an opening weekend. I don't begrudge that. I think that's great. Just know that when you're doing that, you're not paying into the system. You're not paying into theatrical. You're getting to make the kind of movie you want to make in the way you want to make it, and that's great. That removes an essential element from the creative process, which is the audience. They are your collaborators, whether you like it or not. You work for them, whether you like it or not. Right. You never reach a place in your career. Tom Cruise, 40 years in this business, as successful as any actor has ever been, he should be in a position where he can do creatively whatever he wants. And can. And will not.
Right.
Tom Cruise subscribes to the fact that we work for the audience and our job is to get them to come into theaters. It's why we test our movies, which a lot of people think is sacrilegious and a cop-out. And I would say the bigger cop-out is not testing your movie. You don't have to change your movie, but don't you want to know?
Right.
Don't you want to know how your movie's going to be received?
At least the movie that's intended to appeal to as many human beings as possible.
Yes, and test audiences have told us many things where we've said, thank you, no.
Right.
There are other things that test audiences show us and we say, thank God, because I couldn't see the forest for the trees. They're a very important collaborator, and ultimately they are the people who reward us and allow us to go on.
Yeah.
They're also the people you have to dynamite out of their homes to come to a movie theater. And we believe in this medium. That to us, the communal experience and the love of sitting in a theater with 500 people. You will never get the cheers that you got in Top Gun Maverick or in E.T. at home. Yeah. You won't. You won't have the same feelings. Watching The Godfather on the big screen which I didn't see on the big screen until I was, in my 40s. But watching that with an audience and seeing the reaction to certain scenes that, to me at home, were, that's clever.
Right.
And feeling it actually play like a big summer tentpole movie.
Yeah.
Watching John Frankenheimer's The Train recently at BFI,
Yeah.
and seeing it play as well as any summer blockbuster, the way they got the humor and the way they felt the triumph of those characters, and the devastation they felt at the loss of others. You only get that in a theater. The emotional experience is muted at home. It's something you can never truly replicate. Tom and I quite literally devoted our lives to it, and he quite literally risks his life for it.
Truly.
While we're making these movies. I'll tell you something else about that recording with enough distance to get away from it. Just to give you a sense of reality, when you heard it and you read the associating copy, close your eyes and show me how you picture the event.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Like, just what do you picture? What do you imagine the event being?
I mean, he's obviously on set, surrounded by a dozen actors, extras, you, and a couple folks who were getting too close to each other. And
how many people total would you say was that based on your mental picture?
This is a trap.
No, it's not a trap. It's quite literally what
Yeah.
impression did it give you? There's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah, no, I was like a dozen, 20, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. There were 7 people
Yeah.
in that conversation, and 2 of them were me and Tom.
Yeah.
And it was not in front of the crew. That's how it was reported.
Got it.
And 2 of the people there were people who had specifically been tasked with the health and safety of our crew, and had repeatedly
Not lived up to that responsibility.
not lived up to that responsibility. Yep. What you're also not hearing is the 30 minutes of audio that came before it, that led to that. Mm-hmm. When the number of times of trying to get one's point across is not finally getting across.
The breaking point was reached. Yeah.
So context is very, very important, and it's not something you can ever add to something in the age of the internet in real time. But the truth of the matter was there was a much greater context to that, and now factor into it the fact that the person who is raising his voice is quite literally going to work every day and risking his life for a very expressed purpose of keeping the industry alive. That was not a guy pissed off because his latte was cold.
Right.
And
or even that someone's in my eye line, which is justifiable.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. Other outspurts you've heard, which by the way, you listen to those things out of context and think, oh my God, you make one movie and you will totally understand.
Yeah, no, I get it.
When you understand the pressure, the pain, the risk, the time, and the responsibility.
Yeah, and add COVID and everything going on.
You add COVID and everything else going on.
Yeah.
And you can't respond to it.
Yeah.
You can't respond to it. What I am grateful for is that people in the know, people who make movies for a living, understood, we've all been there. We've all lost our shit. Yeah. Every single person. Ye without sin cast the first stone. But that also what he was saying was very, very sincere. There was, he was on the phone every night fighting the good fight to keep things going, to keep things alive. And I was a fly on the wall for all of that. I watched him will that into existence. And then I watched how long it took for people to change, for crews to adopt a different mode of behavior and to take seriously what it was. And it did not matter what you believed.
Yeah.
These are the rules now. And if we want to keep working, this is what we got to do.
Yeah.
It's not really about what is true for you and what is not.
Right.
This is reality.
Yeah.
Reality and truth are 2 very, very different things.